11th meeting of the Redistricting Commission. And before I get started, I've said this before, but I probably haven't said it enough. I can't express my gratitude for the support, for being the glue that holds this commission together, to the council and county staff, including Christine, Tom, Adam, and Chris. So thank you all for the important work that you've contributed to this commission. With that being said, let's introduce one another to our virtual audience. I think our in-person audience probably knows who we are by now. I am Eric Rockwell. I'm the representative from the 3rd District, and I also happen to be the commission chair.
John Delana, representing 5th District.
Albert Aronson, representative for 6th District.
Edward Kramer, 7th District.
And now we'll hear from our virtual commission members, starting with Dr. Davis.
Michelle Davis, District 1.
Lisa Belcastro, District 2.
Cordell Grant, District 4.
Okay, with that being said, the first order of business tonight is to approve the minutes of the last meeting on May 21st. You all received them previously by email, and we have a hard copy here at the table tonight for each member in attendance personally. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Therefore, the minutes have passed. Our next topic on the schedule tonight is to talk about the various maps we've received. We have 2 submissions over the last week since our last meeting, one by myself and one by Ed Kramer. So if anyone has any thoughts about it, I'll turn it over to Mr. Kramer to talk about his map.
Well, first, I'm going to say, I'm going to apologize to everyone. I had a little bit of a brain fart, but in regards to, I thought I had submitted it, but I didn't until Adam got a hold of me today, and I apologize to everyone.
That's fine. Go ahead and tell us about your map, Ed.
And while you do, we have the kind of a presentation that, so as you talk, Christine will kind of be driving around.
Okay. So the map that was that I had worked on, it's the Kramer 215, and the 215, I don't know, it came to me. It was the number of my elementary school. So for some reason, it just popped in my head and just put it on there. But starting in for District 1, I tried to keep the Catonsville area intact as one. For District 2, which District 2 would be a black district. District 3 would be a black district, and District 4 would be a BIPOC. It wraps around, District 4 wraps around the city. That was a little, I'm not going to say that it's perfect or anything like that, and that's why if anybody has any suggestions or anything like that, I would appreciate it. District 5 is Northern Baltimore County, of course. District 6 is a BIPOC barely. I'm trying to figure out where I can add more to the, possibly make some changes to make it a better BIPOC district. District 7 is keeping the Perry Hall, Kingsville, White Marsh area pretty much together. District 8, it was a little difficult on for 8 and 9 because of the way it's set up. I did have to take a little part of the Essex area and place it on to District 9. But there's nothing I could do to change any of that there, but that's what I have.
Any reaction from the other commission members to Ed's map?
I'll just say, I looked at it, looks pretty decent, and I know we can still work. Ed and I talked about District 6, trying to work out a little bit with Mr. Harris, too.
And I as well like it a lot, Ed. I think it's a very, very good starting point to incorporate some of the things we've talked about over a number of meetings.
I did have a question for and maybe Lisa can help me in regards to this. The Pikesville, you need to let me know how, if I kept the certain communities together, or does it need work? If you could let me know later on, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, I first off, Ed, I want to just thank you so much for being such a good partner in this work. And it's evident that you put a lot of time into what into what you've just presented today. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a number of things with Pikesville that we'll have to do. Just making sure that the strong Jewish institutions are included in the Pikesville district, but also some historically Pikesville neighborhoods that are currently not included in that Pikesville district. And then the one thing that I do want to air out as well is that Pikesville has not shown up in a really strong way to provide public comment. And I think it's because they haven't really had a reason to. And so I think that as we continue to draw maps and go down this path, we also have to consider the fact that making drastic changes to what we've already presented and put out there when it comes to communities, I think we have to take into consideration that individuals aren't going to have that opportunity to provide public comment in the ways that they have. I know that there are a number of individuals that have shared about public comment that has been provided by their communities, but they've had a reason to come out, right? And that's the one thing that concerns me here. Pikesville hasn't had the opportunity to come out to talk about this because they haven't really had a reason to come out to talk about this. So, Ed, again, I'm always thankful because I know that you put a ton of work into these maps and you've been a great partner in this work. But I am going to have to take a really close look at this Pikesville district.
I appreciate that.
Anyone else have any final thoughts on the map that Ed developed? Okay, hearing none, the next map is a map that I term revision to the Foster Plan. And just by way of background, I don't know the gentleman who originally prepared the map, Colin Foster, but he did, and he submitted it to us earlier in the month of May. And quite frankly, before 2 weekends ago, I hadn't even looked at the map, which is shame on me because it had been on the server for a week to 10 days before that. That being said, generally what drew me to this map was a couple of things. Number one, while I respect the maps that the ACLU and the Woodlawn approach Mr. Dorsey have produced, I am including or beyond being the chairman, I'm the representative from the 3rd District. And the area that I live in, Lutherville, Timonium, and Cockeysville, was divided amongst 3 different districts in both the ACLU and the Woodlawn Approach C map. That's something that I could not support. It just that simple. I mean, that's my mindset. This map obviously does it a very different way. This map creates 1 Black majority district and 3 BIPOC districts. The districts being District 1 is a BIPOC district, District 2 is a Black majority district, District 3 is a BIPOC district, and District 7 is a BIPOC district. And if you add up the collective amount of Black vote within all those 4 districts, it represents, according to the figures that we have in our commission manual, 71.7% of the Black voting population in the county. That being said, I recognize that there's some very different approaches to some of these districts. And I spent a lot of time over the Memorial Day weekend trying to come up with different permutations for several of the districts on the west side. And I ended up very frustrated because I couldn't come up with a permutation that was more to my liking. This map, as you can see, is primarily oriented in a north-south direction on the west side. And of course, we've already got a lot of feedback from the Catonsville community inside the Beltway who are unhappy with being separated from the part of Catonsville outside the Beltway. This map does not cure that, unfortunately. And like I said, I tried to come up with different permutations, but I compare it to chess in certain ways. Not only do you have to worry in chess about the first move you're making, but you have to think about 1 or 2 moves ahead of that to be successful. And that's just something that I have a failing. I can't do it, quite frankly, effectively at least. So the map is what it is. I guess in closing, the only other thing I'd like to add, getting back to what I thought was a benefit in this map, is it keeps the central part of Baltimore County below Shawan Road all in one district, which I found very alluring. And just to give you a comparison in terms of what we've heard of from the public about having the Lutherville, Timonium, Cockeysville area separated, to date, as of the middle of noon today, we've received 273 letters from people in the Lutherville, Timonium, Cockeysville area saying, please do not split us up into more than one district. And again, with both Woodlawn C and the ACLU plans, that area was split up into 3 districts. So with that, any questions or comments that the commission has, I'm more than willing to entertain them.
Can you explain that, that I guess that would be that western area that you have? Yes. I see that that's part of,
Which part are you talking?
I'm talking about this western part, right?
District 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's the same, is that part of the same district that looks like the current District 3 now, or is this a new district?
No, each of the districts on the west side are completely new compared to what we know right now with a 7-district council. The one on the west side of the west side is basically taking the Beltway as a boundary in one direction, and then it goes obviously all the way over to the Patapsco River on the west.
Could you bring that map down just a little bit? Down? Further down, down. I want to go more south. I guess it was north.
You looking at 4 here?
Yeah, I'm looking at,
This right here?
yeah, I'm
This is all 4 right here.
see, that's what I'm concerned about. It looks like District, I think it's District 4 now.
Yeah, this is District 4, the northern district. All that right there.
It's, so what is this for the west area here?
Well, this is this is Liberty Road right here. If you want to, I'm going to tell you, he's looking at the west side of District 4, right next to District 2.
Yeah.
It would be,
I guess you would have to take it west. So, because
I'm trying to look. Okay, yours is a different color, that's why.
right, that's what, I guess that's why I'm confused, because I'm looking at one map and one.
See, yes, so that is District 4, the little bit darker blue or whatever it would be.
Right.
That purple is District 4.
And that light color that's next to it?
That would be Carroll County. Out there, that's Carroll County.
It's Carroll County.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, all right.
It goes up to around 140, going towards Westminster area. On that part right there, Al, and
I guess I'm getting a little confused here.
That's okay.
Let me walk,
Road.
okay, let me walk up here and see one. This area here.
Yes, that's all part of 4.
Yeah,
It would be the northern district, part of the northern district.
yeah.
Part of this.
Yes, sir.
Al, where you had your hand right now is basically Soldiers Delight area, which doesn't have I mean, there's some population, but it's relatively sparse in that area.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I kind of.
Yes, it is.
Yes. I wanted to be clear on that because it just looked like
There's
that
not a lot of
area
population.
just seemed to be so large.
Yeah.
And I know Soldiers Delight, definitely a rural area.
I just want to hop in and first off, thank Eric. Eric, you just knowing you from the community even prior to this work, you've been one of the finest advocates for the Lutherville, Timonium, Cockeysville area, and you're right. Lutherville, Timonium, and Cockeysville often are. They haven't had a district to call their own when you look at maps, just not even just at the county level, at the state level as well. And so I appreciate and understand why you've brought this forward. And as a community person, I certainly respect it. I think it's going to be no surprise that just some of the concerns that I have are around districts that we've never really seen before, right? We haven't entertained the idea of combining Towson with Pikesville, and what that means and what that looks like. And so, um, certainly some concerns there and wanting to just dive a bit more deeper into that. But I will say overall, this map is really interesting. I agree. And Eric, I'd be interested in looking at whether, through the app, we pull up this district that you've drawn for Lutherville Timonium, and what does it look like to draw districts around it, or is there a way to accommodate some of the advocacy and lift up the advocacy that you've been doing for the Lutherville, Timonium, and Cockeysville area, whether it looks exactly like this or it looks a bit different, because we all know when you move one line, it impacts all the other lines. But this is a really interesting map, and I want to thank you again, Eric, for lifting it up.
And Lisa, at least in part, I will say that Ed and I didn't communicate about the maps that we presented tonight, but I, with a couple tweaks, could sign on to Ed's map, at least as a representative for the 3rd district, and being concerned about Lutherville, Timonium, Cockeysville.
Great.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
May I just make a remark? One thing I would say from the legal perspective is I would kind of echo what Ms. Belcastro said. This represents a very interesting approach, because I don't know that we have enough information to say one way or the other, but I think what you're trying to do is get to the same place that some of these other maps are trying to do as well, which is increase potential diversity, increase opportunities. And so it is an interesting approach, the 1-3 approach. It's and on Ed's map, Mr. Kramer's map, his is more akin to Ms. Belcastro's 2-2 approach. And I think both of those maps, I think would be legally supportable. And I think we would just have to kind of do a little more work to look when we look at your map. But it presents an interesting approach to this whole, VRA requirement.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
How you doing? This is Cordell. I have a few thoughts about both of the maps, and I do want to thank both my colleagues, the chair, Mr. Kramer, on all of your hard work. I think that it doesn't go unnoticed, and we definitely appreciate you for putting that forward. I'd like to start with Mr. Kramer's map, which was the 2-2 approach, and I think that although I can understand where you keep District 1 together, but then we split in up District 2, 3, and 4. And I think that over the last few months, we have had overwhelming, we heard from our constituents in terms of them not necessarily wanting certain splits. And I think that with this map, it does on the west side, it does that, right? Like it may deviate from some of the community standards. It may deviate from some of the neighborhoods that are there. And again, we're talking about voting power, and what does that look like, or power in general, for marginalized communities. So I think that is the concern for me. On the other hand, the chair's map, which is the 1-3 approach, which is very interesting. I do agree, Commissioner Belcastro, because I think that I don't want us to sort of go away from what the initial idea of adding these 2 new districts are, which accordingly was to add 2 majority Black districts. And then we have thought to have add a minority majority and sought after, so on and so forth. I think that here, this map, especially on the west side, particularly caused a major controversy when they split Catonsville north and south, as well as now moving different populations. Now I have to look at these maps more closely to look at the data, but I don't know if it necessarily helps the west side particular. Now I think that I know that I saw that we received a update to the Woodlawn C approach, and I know that we have some commissioners that have differences of opinions on how that map is, but as it approached, we have thought it to have been too concentrated in the black districts. And I believe that there were modifications made to that map which reduce those concentrations. And I think that may be a consideration that the commission may want to look at, even considering maybe modifications or thoughts on how to make those things you all want possible for all. Thanks.
Cordell, I appreciate your information, and this is one of the things I had spoken about before. It's this is where need help for the west side. I know some of the communities over there, but I'm not. I just don't have the knowledge on the west side as I do on the east side, and even in northern Baltimore County. My knowledge isn't as great, and that's where I needed help in that regards. So if you see something that you don't like and you want to try to make some changes to it, I say go for it.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I think that we absolutely should talk more, especially after this meeting. I think with both public meetings or public hearings, there was an overwhelming interest of how constituents of the west side visualized their districts, how they envision their living, and a lot of them sided with or propelled and projected for the Woodlawn Approach C, as well as the 315 map. And I think that with both of our minds, of all of our commissioners, all of our minds on the commission, I think that we can all reach that. So we can definitely talk after to find more clarity.
Yeah, I want to jump in again. Ed, I think this is workable. One of the biggest things that I see, and you mentioned this, and I'm really thankful that you acknowledged it, is the BIPOC district on the east side. I feel like we've got to, if we're going to do it, we got to do it, right? And I feel like the numbers that we're at right now, we haven't reached that point yet where we can feel like we've really created a BIPOC district that is winnable by minorities on the east side. So I think there's a little bit of tweaking that we can do over there. In terms of how Pikesville is drawn, just getting I'm okay with Pikesville being the inner Beltway district. I know that helps alleviate some of the concerns with Catonsville, but I will need to, again, and it sounds like you're amenable to it. I don't know what the numbers will look like once I go in and make the communities of Pikesville proper whole again. So we'll have to pay attention to that. That could change things. But I think what you've drawn up is workable, and I'm really thankful that you've taken the effort to do this. So thank you.
One thing I just want to make sure everyone realizes, we're moving things. We're going to have, unfortunately, communities that are going to be separated. For instance, Middle River, where I live now, we have 3 council people for Middle River presently. So I do understand that. We're going to have some issue. And I mean, look on the east side, I had to take part of Essex and put it with the Dundalk area because the numbers just don't add up. So.
Yeah, that is something that we all need to consider, but it's going to be a push and pull of who's willing to give, right? We've heard extensive lobbying from the Middle River area about wanting to stay together, extensive lobbying from Catonsville wanting to stay together. And, you know, as we're all doing our part, right, is the work that we're here to do is on behalf of our communities. And it's who's willing to do that work and give up a little bit of their community, right? And yeah, people are gonna have to make sacrifices, but there's a lot of people that are whole right now that came out loud, and communities that, because maybe they're working, maybe because they've got kids to take care of at home, they weren't able to show up at those meetings. And so I want us to consider that as well.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
the only other thing I wanted to say, I kind of echo what is being said, but, and I'm not, endorsing, I'm just talking purely as the legal guy, but, there are changes that are going to be made. And I asked Christine to bring up this map because this is the current map, the 7-member map. And before 2022, from 2011 until 2022, and look, I'm not endorsing breaking up anything or doing anything, but I'm just pointing out facts. There was a time when District 5 had all of Towson and was like a bow tie and went up all the way to here and went all the way to the Harford County line. So, I mean, that's what that used to look like. And then you had District 6, which was starting, which had Hillendale and Parkville and Rosedale, and went all the way out to here, like another sort of bow tie. And they were just kind of like right on top of each other, but they all went from, Towson essentially all the way to Harford County. So the only reason I bring that up is because, and now when you look at this map, it's a lot different. And so it's just to kind of illustrate that change has to occur. And I think the same thing happened in 2002 when the county finally did draw a majority black district over here. That obviously caused a lot of change in what were previously represented communities. So I'm just pointing those out as historical things to give you a little not guidance, but so you hopefully maybe have a little comfort in whatever you end up having to do.
Tom, I'm thankful that you brought up those historical facts because I have been looking at some of the historical maps for the county districts, and I noticed that over the years, a lot of these districts that are now our 7 districts, they have changed over the years, and they have changed drastically. I mean, I looked at one of the maps where, just about all of what we know as 3 now came all the way down to almost the city line. But, and it's the historics that we have to keep in mind, too, that the fact that, you were once one district and now you're another district. It didn't change too much about the community that you lived in because you still had your same neighbors. The thing is that's actually bothering us, or the thing before us right now, is that we have to make sure there's 9 council-mandated districts when we finish. And no matter how we look at it, somebody's going to be upset.
I don't know whether we're at the point that I'm about to suggest, but I'm going to make the suggestion just to elicit feedback from my other commission members. And that point is, commission members, are we at the point where we want to say we're going to concentrate on 2 or 3 maps and work to refine, tweak whatever the description is to those 2 or 3 maps? Because keep in mind, we've got to come to a decision within the next 2+ weeks. So it seems to me that we should be reducing the scope of things down to a couple or 3 maps.
I agree, Eric, and it should be no more than 2, actually.
Yeah, I agree
I'm
also.
okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Lisa. I agree with that. I don't know if it should be 2 or 3, but there are ones we can concentrate on and start putting some, looking at numbers and that, because that's what it's really coming down to. And like you said, Al, somebody's going to be split somewhere. We can't do it strictly by one way. So I think we need to come up with either 2 or 3 maps, and then we can start working on those and sharing them like you have with all the maps we've been getting over the last week or so we can look at them and then come back here and, make some kind of decision. That's my 2 cents.
Let me hear from other commission members, their thoughts.
I think I agree. I agree. There's certain maps though that I'd like to see remain part of the conversation. So I think it's contingent on that. Simply because we haven't had the in-depth time to look at some of these other maps that have been brought forward. So I know I'm not giving a clear answer, but the answer is yes. So long as my 2-2 map can make it to the end as well, because I think there's components of that I'd like to keep part of the conversation.
I think that we can begin to reduce these maps down to 2 to 3 maps, and I think we should consider looking at a Woodlawn approach map as one of those maps to consider, as well as other maps that the commission members have agreed upon.
Okay. Not that I want to put you on the spot, Dr. Davis, but what is your opinion?
I'm gonna reserve the right to not provide an opinion tonight. I thought what we talked about last week were scenarios with maps that we wanted to come back to address. So I think I'm just a little bit confused by this conversation tonight. So I'm gonna reserve my opinion, but the go forward is that we need to define the select maps that we will look at versus coming back to kind of repeat what we repeat the prior week. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've heard from everyone. Is someone willing to make a motion to have that discussion that we've just had?
Eric, I don't think we can actually come up with a motion because, like we said, your map that you presented to us, we just looked at, your map will also, there's 2 maps that just came to us today. And then there was a 3rd map revision from Woodlawn C that came, that we're just seeing today. I mean, I am anyhow. So, I can't say we should have a motion on the number of maps that we're going to look at, or we're going to have have a motion on just the maps that we have already presented to us. I'm not willing to make a motion on that, so that's just my stand.
I have a thought or question. Would commission members just rather make this a tentative decision until, let's say, next week and submit by email, or either discuss at the next meeting next Wednesday? Or Thursday, I apologize.
Yeah, it's Thursday, June 5th.
Right. So you could, you could use the remaining time this week and like early next week to kind of cultivate things via email if that would work.
Well, I would be willing to make that motion, Eric, that we bring forward 3 maps. If there's a second, we could start having that discussion at least.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, we've got to get closer to a decision. I'm not saying that we have to have a final decision by our next meeting, but we've got to keep moving forward. If we don't move forward, we've effectively regressed rather than progressed. So Lisa, if you want to make a motion, we'll see whether we can get a second and discussion and then vote on it.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we open discussion on the selection of 3 maps to center our work on moving forward.
Is there a second?
Before we talk about a second, how are we defining the maps that we would like to move forward? How do we get to that place?
Well, I think before we take the vote, Dr. Davis, in the discussion after a motion and a second, that we should have that discussion about what 3 maps. Since you asked, I'm of the opinion that the 3 maps should be the Woodlawn C map, the map that Ed has produced over this past week and was presented tonight, and I'll rely on my colleagues to come up with a third. If it were just me, I'd say it was the map that I presented tonight, but I'd need to see some support from my colleagues. But that's the kind of discussion that I would want before we take a vote on the motion.
And just a point of clarity, this is just for us to facilitate an open conversation about what 3 maps we could potentially put forward. If at the end of that discussion, we don't have consensus or people don't feel comfortable, it's my intention with the motion that we wouldn't move forward with a vote on the final 3 maps to move forward. Is that how others have perceived my motion?
That's how I interpreted it, Lisa, but I'd like to hear from the other commission members.
I guess my question would be matter of time. So would it be in this current session or throughout the week? We're going to create communication through email. What does the time look like on agreeing upon these 3 maps? And I think with the introduction of Mr. Kramer's map and other maps, I think that is going to cause for more review, as they are newer maps with newer causes and effects.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect, Cordell, that your comments are apropos. Any other discussion on this?
Excuse me, Chairman, from what I'm hearing, I just want to notice that I abstain from this vote on this motion.
Okay.
It sounds like we're not ready to move forward on this, so I will withdraw my motion.
Okay. All right, that having been said, what other topics would the commission like to discuss this evening?
I just want to make one suggestion because, it seems like the group is not ready to discuss plans in their entirety, but it may be worth trying to discuss individual districts and focus on that first. For example, focusing on what is, on the Catonsville Arbutus area, whether the district should be kind of, run more like what you have, or run more like what Ed has, or somewhere in between, which is more like the Lisa's 2-2 map, or focus on the Dundalk district. Should that run further north? Should it take more or less of Essex? It may help to narrow down some of the other problems you're facing by trying to define easy districts, or some of the districts where you think you can get some consensus first. And that way you're just limiting the bounds of your discussion district by district as you go. But it's just a suggestion. If you guys don't have to follow.
I'm certainly amenable to that. Are the other commission members amenable?
I'm fine with that.
I have no objection.
Works for me.
Yes, Eric.
Yeah, I'm fine with it, and I think we need to decide what are our primary or what are our emergent districts that we need to look at, or are we going to look at all 9? But I'm for doing that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Along those lines, let's start with the Catonsville district, since that has been one where we've received a lot of correspondence from the community. Why don't you start with Ed's map of today?
Make sure that the percentages are on there.
Okay, to start off the conversation about this district, again, given the fact that we've got a lot of feedback and requests that we keep the area inside the Beltway with the same district as outside the Beltway, I'm very comfortable with something similar to what's shown in this particular map. Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
How about some feedback from our 3 virtual commission members?
I will hop in. It's always a positive when communities can stay together. I think it's great that in this district, Catonsville is whole, but I don't forget about, again, the reason that we're all here, and the historical moment that we're in, which is we have the opportunity to shift how this county is drawn to create districts that allow more diverse individuals to rise into positions of power, and to meet the diversity of our county. And so I think, again, it's great when communities can stay together, but we have to also strike a balance and rise to the moment that we're in and the opportunity that we have. And so, obviously in the map that I put forward, it would have divided up Catonsville. And if we can keep Catonsville whole and still meet, rise to the charge that I think we have, which is to create more opportunities for people of color and diverse candidates to rise to positions of power, then we need to be keeping that work at the forefront of what we're doing. And so that might mean that a community like Catonsville needs to be split up in order to achieve that. I will make the concession tonight that there are, and I've been open with my West Side commissioners, that there are multiple ways to do this. We can also have Pikesville has historically been the inner Beltway district. There are ways to do that. But there are also historical and voting rights considerations for the Pikesville area, and we have to make sure that we are adhering to that when we draw these districts. And once we do that, I'm not positive that we are going to create a truly BIPOC district or what that's going to look like. So I'm committed to going in. I have not drawn that up yet. I'm committing to you all tonight that I will go in and try and draw up a truly BIPOC district that has Pikesville being the inner Beltway district, to try and give some of that relief to Catonsville. But again, at the forefront of what we do, I do believe that we need to be creating more opportunities for diverse individuals to rise into positions of power. I'll leave it at that.
So while I agree with diversity and resource considerations, I disagree in that I would not like to see Catonsville split for various reasons as presented, not just via public testimony, but also via some of the email communications. I am a little bit concerned with the distribution of the data here, if I'm seeing it correctly. In terms of District 1 being a BIPOC district, so to say, I'm not as comfortable with the distribution or the, I don't want to say lack of equity, but I'm a little bit concerned about the data in terms of the demographics. But I would like to see Catonsville remain whole. And I am in agreement with the conversation regarding equity and the resources and the continuous compact community.
Commissioner Davis, do you mind sharing a little bit more about the concerns with the data that you're seeing, just so I can understand it a bit better?
Yeah, I think in some of the prior maps with some of the iterations here, we had, and forgive me, I don't know which maps exactly, but the distribution of the data looks a little different for me. So the map just changed. But if I'm looking here or where we previously saw the data, I think we were at like 60 point something percent. I think it was 60 or 60% in the Caucasian. Yeah, I'm trying to get this. Yeah, I think we were looking somewhere where we had, the numbers were a little bit different. I think where this Caucasian population, it was somewhere in the 50s. I could have swore it was a little bit lower than this, and a couple of iterations of the map. And some of the other numbers were a little bit higher, slightly higher. So for me to be comfortable with this, I would have to go back and do a comparison with some of the prior maps that we looked at. And I do understand you move one line that changes the total scope and the scheme. However, I just don't recall seeing this number. I don't recall seeing this number as a high. So that stands out to me.
Thank you for the clarity. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Just as a technical point, whenever you're looking at what's showing on the screen right now, if you notice each demographic ends in an 18, and then most of them end with an 18P. So 18 indicates the voting age population, and the P indicates that it's the percent, not the actual number. It's possible, this is a total guess, but it's possible that some of these numbers, the difference between total population and voting age population could account for it. Without looking at your screen, I can't tell, but I know that that's tripped up me and a couple other people throughout this process, that just to remember, the 18 has to be there for it to be the voting age. Yeah.
Great. I understand. And thank you for that point of clarification, Adam.
Okay, let's move over to the eastern side of the county with the district that I'll call the Dundalk District. And the question there, I think, is really how far north do we extend that district? Ed, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
And the reason I set it up this way is I'm trying to get where we need to do with the BIPOCs and the blacks and stuff, districts, but also I'm trying to keep as many communities together as possible. To me, that's an important part. It's communities, for instance, the Essex Middle River area, it's a diverse community. And it is what it is. But my point is, we've got water on one side, water completely around us, and we have for the Dundalk and the city on the other side. So there's not a lot you can do with this. You can go down into Essex more, but the problem is you do that, then I'm taking the numbers down in District 8, go down to, I mean, it just doesn't work. Then you've got to start moving things around and everything. So in District 6, I've done District 6 that way to, I'll just leave that one alone.
I mean, both for this district and over on the west side as well, I mean, you're basically dealing with the question of where do you set the northern boundary? And other than that, you can't extend it south, you can't extend it in another direction because you're in the Baltimore City and, you know, we've got bodies of water in the third direction. Not that I'm asking the commission members to make a final decision yet, but just generally are the other commission members comfortable with the northern limits of that 9th district? I think I am more or less, but I'd like to hear from the other commission members.
I don't know yet. I need to look at this more in depth. Currently, as the numbers stand, I don't think we can say in good faith that we've created with that 6th district an opportunity district. I think we're sitting at 59%. Is that, no, I'm sorry, 49% white. I can't say that we're there yet. And so I don't know what that means yet when it comes to moving the line. So I don't want to commit to a border that borders that 6th district right now, when there's a lot of work I think that needs to be done on this district.
Eric, can I add something here? Instead of us going through all this and what I think we all need to do by, say, Tuesday of next week, email our thoughts in so we can have everything ready for our meeting on Thursday. And because we've got to get this done, we have to have this done. I mean, we've got 2 weeks here, basically.
Yeah.
That's it. We could go through this and back and forth, but we're not going to get, everybody needs to put their thoughts down so they can review the maps. And Tuesday, we really need to put some emails out to each other, what our plans are for Thursday's meeting.
Right. And I would encourage everyone to be thinking about the 2 or 3 maps that, again, you're not voting to approve any one of these 2 or 3 maps, but we're saying we're going to limit discussion to just those 2 or 3 maps.
I'd like to add something else too. And remember the maps, the map that I had put together, I look forward to anybody. I mean, Cardell, and you made some questions about the, on the west side there. Anybody's thoughts about some changes? And Adam, can that map be one of the maps that they can make changes to for themselves?
Yeah, we can, we can make a template of the 2 maps that have been shown tonight, and that way, each one of you can make a variation of those maps.
Would that help the commission?
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, so not hearing any further discussion, I'm going to ask the commission members to come up with their thoughts and email the group so that we have a game plan. More or less, it's not going to be 100% perfect, but a game plan for next Thursday's meeting. Again, we've got to get something done. That's the bottom line.
So with that being said, council, I'm not calling you councilperson, but chairperson. I just want to be clear that we're actually talking about so far the 2 to 3 maps that we discussed tonight. There won't be any introduction of another map. See, that's my major concern.
Well, we had 2 presented tonight. I very much, and again, this is just me. We haven't voted on this, so my opinion is equally as important as the 6 of you others. But I think we should be discussing the Woodlawn C map as well. Again, that's my personal opinion, and I think we should, over the course of between tomorrow and next Tuesday, put together questions, thoughts, whatever it might be, of those 2 or 3 maps, so that by Tuesday we can see some common focus amongst the commission, and so that by Thursday we have a game plan to start moving forward. This tonight was important, and we made some progress, but it's not as much progress as I'm happy with having made. Okay? That's, again, my personal opinion on the thing. I'm one of 7 commission members. We've got to be moving forward.
Okay, it was just my clarification that I want to make sure that we're only going with these 3 maps that we have talked about thus far tonight, not any new introductions.
Well, we didn't have meaningful discussion about Woodlawn. Mr. Dorsey sent in a revision that Adam just circulated today, and to be honest with you, I haven't even opened up the email. So I would be doing a great disservice to Mr. Dorsey and the rest of the commission members if we tried to discuss this without even knowing what the revision is. But, again, in my humble opinion, the Woodlawn map ought to be one that we start focusing on next week. But again, the 6 of you may have a completely different opinion. But we've got to narrow down the field some to reach the finish line, okay? Anyone else have any thoughts, any final thoughts? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the meeting's adjourned. I thank everyone and wish you a productive weekend with some emails between ourselves by Tuesday. Thank you. Good night.